What is going on, guys? Welcome to my course. Basically, this is going to be the most comprehensive science-based guide to losing your first 10 pounds. And it's something that you can actually empower yourself with, educate yourself so that you can not only lose your first 10 pounds, first 15, first 20, first 30, for 50, 100 pounds even. This is the same thing that's going to get you all the way to your goal here. And so we're going to use science because basically science is basically the thing that everyone should use. Otherwise, people are going to say crazy stuff based off their past experiences and tell people to do stuff that's worked for them, but isn't necessarily true for a big population. And the reason why we go with a science-based approach, we got really, really smart people. They put studies in place. And from here, they look at a randomized control group, which is basically a bunch of people. They randomize these subjects, they randomize the experiments. And from here, they look at the results from the control group, which is basically just the person that potentially could be like a placebo group. And then they look at the results from the application of the technique or methodology to the group that's testing to see if there's any sort of difference. So long story short, using science tells you very objectively whether or not something actually works, as opposed to saying, hey, cutting out your carbs works because it helped like this one client that I've had. There's not a lot of evidence to support that. It's not really significant. So we use science because personally, I like to understand things to the deepest level. Like I truly knowing the answer. I really don't not like knowing the answer. So for me, I really, really want to know the answer. I want certainty in the process. So by using science and actually looking at systematic reviews, really, really smart people already have the answer. So my job is to tell you what the answer is based off of the experiments that they ran, but also my experience working at the UFC Performance Institute, where some people can lose literally like 30 to like 90 pounds in like 6 months. So we're going to show you guys what is actually true in the literature and how you can actually implement this into your life, because there's so much information out there. What is actually true? And so I want to dissect that and give this all to you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually create an overview to help you understand what you're going to learn. Okay. So the first thing is going to be getting you to the calorie deficit. We're going to eat high volume food. We're going to tell you why prioritizing protein every meal. So I used to live in Australia, so it does this. We're talking about NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. We're going to talk about how you can incorporate certain types of workout into your lifestyle, so it makes it really, really easy. We're going to talk about water, cutting out calories, liquid calories, optimizing your sleep. We're going to teach you how to stay consistent, manage your stress, and we're going to be able to plan for social situations. And then we're going to dive really, really deep into each and every single one of these. And more importantly, I'm going to give you this Google document so that you just know, you understand this is your course. It helps you empower yourself. It's stuff that you can show to your family. It's stuff that you can show to everyone around you so that everyone can just be healthier, because one of the biggest things that's mortality risk in America is literally cardiovascular disease. 70% of people are freaking overweight and obese. It's a freaking epidemic right now. And there's so many things that we can do right now to just help a ton of people, right? So we're going to get into it right now so that we can make sure this is jam-packed with value. Okay. So the first thing we need to understand is in order for you to lose weight, this is like the number one principle. Like if you are in a calorie deficit, right, you are going to lose weight. It's freaking math at this point. Okay. And that's why I really like this stuff, because it's literally finding a process that works for your lifestyle. And so how can you actually make this actionable? Okay. So the first thing I like to get our clients doing is we actually want to track your daily caloric intake for the first 3 to 5 days using some sort of fitness app. Okay. Just when you're starting. And this is just one approach that we found to be the best, because if you start to track your daily caloric intake, from here, you start to understand like how much calories like a pizza is, or how much calories is an ice cream is, or how many calories is like, a Coke or versus a Coke Zero. You start to educate yourself to be like, whoa, like when I'm actually consuming this Coke, dude, that's like 180 calories. I could just have like a bubbly drink, right? This is 0 calories. There's a little bit of calories, it just doesn't say, but it's 0 calories. So from here, you start to make conscious decisions to be like, okay, instead of having like a Coke or like a beer, maybe I can substitute with like a bubbly, right? And from here, you consume less calories. But starting to understand the type of foods that you're putting into your body and using an app like MyFitnessPal to understand like actually how many calories it is will start to help you educate yourself. But more importantly, you start to understand what your maintenance calorie is. So your maintenance calorie is basically, and we're going to dive really, really deep into this later. Your maintenance calorie is basically how much calories you burn from just being alive, based off your basal metabolic rate, based off your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is basically your non-exercise activity. as well as just basically like your organs functioning and stuff like that. Okay. So we need to understand what your maintenance calorie is. And from here, we can start to subtract 500 to 750 calories to create a slight calorie deficit in which you will 100% lose 1 to 1.5 pounds per week. And if you have this data, if you have this data point, if you truly understand what your maintenance calorie is and you're eating slightly below that, you will freaking 100% lose weight. 100%. It's freaking math at this point. All right. And if you're not doing that, if you're not losing weight, there's other parameters that you're not looking at probably. Right. And so having a more individualized approach will help you understand how to get you into that deficit. Okay. So why is this so important? Well, you lose weight when you burn more calories than you consume. Okay. A deficit of 500 calories daily typically leads to 1 pound to 1.5 pounds lost per week. So let's dive into this, what this means. Okay. So when you lose weight because you burn more calories to consume, let's just say I'm going to give you a number. My resting metabolic rate, which is 2,500 calories. I actually got this assessed at the UFC. So at the UFC, they have like a special machine. They strap you up, put something on your face, and you're just measuring your breathing. You're laying down for like 5-10 minutes. And then from here, they start to there's a bunch of like special machines that tell you based off of like my breathing rate, my weight, my height, age, all that stuff, my resting metabolic rate is 2,500 calories. So that means me laying there flat, just laying there, 2,500 calories is how much calories I need in order to sustain my organ function, be able to like breathe, be alive. That's just how many calories I need. Okay, that's not including me walking and stuff like that, my need, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? This is just me being alive. So that means if I eat 2,500 calories, I'm not going to gain weight. I'm also not going to lose weight. Okay. Now, when we understand what your maintenance calorie is, basically for you, what your resting metabolic rate plus your basal metabolic rate, which is basically including your exercise and stuff like that. Once we actually know your total daily expenditure, then we can actually get you in a slight calorie deficit of 500 calories. So let's just make things super easy and talk about my resting metabolic rate. So 2,500 calories. And imagine I just didn't do anything. I decided to just like lay in bed for like 5 days straight. Now, if I wanted to apply this principle of getting a calorie deficit, since I burn 2,500 calories from just being me, laying down, all I need to do is eat 2,000 calories and I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. 100% I'm going to lose weight. Okay. Now, something that you need to be very mindful of, okay, is when you get yourself into a calorie deficit, especially a prolonged calorie deficit or a very big calorie deficit, your body goes through something called metabolic adaptation. This is very, very important because as you start to lose weight, right? For me, let's just say I do this for like 2 months, 2,500 calories, I'm eating 2,000 calories. What's going to happen is my resting metabolic rate will slowly adapt. It'll slowly go through something called metabolic adaptation. It goes into survival mode because basically before prehistoric days, caveman days, we didn't know when our next meal came from. So when we were hunting and gathering, we're like, we're eating, we don't know when our next meal is. So your body's really smart, starts to adapt and just holds on to all these nutrients. It holds on to like fat. It stores nutrients, energy as fat. So if it's storing it as fat, well, guess what? It's going to hold on to its nutrient because it doesn't know when it's in. Obviously, it's really different now because we live in a very abundant society. You can call Uber Eats. Uber Eats comes, dude, food comes in like 20 minutes and you can overconsume calories. Okay. Now, why is this so important? Why is metabolic adaptation so important? So metabolic adaptation is basically if you're just getting yourself in a calorie deficit, over a period of time, your resting metabolic rate, your basal metabolic rate is going to slowly adapt. So it's going to get to like maybe 2,300 calories, right? So eventually, instead of being at a 500 calorie deficit, you're now only at a 300 calorie deficit. So your rate of fat loss goes down because you're no longer eating, you're no longer actually in a 500 calorie deficit, you're more in a 300 calorie deficit. So then obviously your rate of fat loss goes down. So maybe instead of losing 1 pound a week, you start to lose 0.5 pound a week. But if you continue doing this for like 3 months, eventually your resting metabolic rate is slowly going to adapt. It's going to meet that point of intake. So it's going to be 2,000 calories. Then people hit a plateau. They hit that plateau and they're like, I don't know what to do. Okay. So oftentimes here, people don't know what to do. They'll be like, all right, what should I do? Should I just keep dropping my calories? Okay, well, drop the calories. You can drop your calories for sure. So let's just say you eat 1,500 calories again, right? So you're going to lose a lot more weight. Again, over time, your body's going to adapt. It's going to go down to 1,500 calories. Your body's going to be like, oh, what do I do here? You're going to hit another plateau. And then maybe from here, you're going to start to increase your cardio or your steps or whatever it is. And obviously, that's going to give you a big calorie deficit. So that's not the purpose of this training. The purpose of the training is how to get you to lose your first 10 pounds. Obviously, to get to the next stage of how to actually build up your metabolism, get up into a higher metabolic rate. That's a different training. For us right now, we need to be mindful that in order for you to lose your first 10 pounds, you need to get yourself in a calorie deficit, but you also need to be mindful of metabolic adaptation, which is essentially your body is going through survival mode to adapt. And over a period of time, it's just going to slowly lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. Okay, cool. So that's basically it. So number 2 is we want to eat high volume, low calorie foods. Okay, so the actionable step here, obviously you want to go high volume, high protein, low calorie food, but the actionable step that I want you guys to implement is swap out calorie dense foods such as processed snacks, sweet, high fat foods for lower calorie, high volume options, vegetables, lean protein, fruits. For example, eat a big salad with lean protein instead of burger and fries. Okay, obvious. It's very, very obvious. Foods like leafy greens, lots of fiber, cucumber, carrots, chicken breast, fish, strawberries, and berries. These are very, very high volume food, very, very low amount of calories compared. So I'm going to give you guys an example. Okay, high volume food, low calorie food will fill you up with fewer calories, allowing you to eat larger portions without exceeding your daily calorie intake. So give an example, right? So not saying this is like your entire life. You shouldn't just like only eat high volume food. You need to have a balance. Okay. So if you're only eating like chocolate, if you have one chocolate bar versus like, chicken breast and like a salad or whatever it is, or even just berries, the amount of berries that you can have, like there's so much berries that you can have for like one bar of chocolate. And I don't have the math here. Maybe it's like 200 calories worth of like chocolate, which is like a tiny little bar like this. Whereas 200 calories worth of strawberries, it's like a freaking mountain full. So which one do you think is going to keep you fuller for longer? Strawberries, 100%. So having higher volume food and lower calorie option is one of the first things that you can do. Easy substitutes to just decrease your overall calorie intake. If you reduce your calorie intake, as you're going back to first point, you will start to lose weight. Okay. So having a balance of high volume, low calorie food will literally be a game changer because you're no longer hungry. And if you're less hungry, you're no longer just going to hunt to like the pantry and just snack. And I remember like when I was, 19 years old, I used to, man, it'd be so ridiculous because I tried all these crazy diets. I'd be like, all right, next, let's cut out your carbs for like a whole week. Like I'd literally just not eat carbs. I'd bowl of chicken breast. What else? I would only have salad. Right. So what ended up happening was for like Monday through Friday, I'd be really, really good. I'd be dialed. And then Saturday, Sunday rolls around. And now I'm just like fiending sugar. I'm fiending like food and variety and stuff like that. So what I would do is I would literally just stick to like chicken breast and salad. And my one like cheat meal would be like a freaking bubble tea. So ridiculous. Right. Because realistically, it's like instead of me just having a more balanced meal throughout the week, I'm choosing to literally just like go through this on hard mode, restricting my type of food. And then on the weekend, I like freaking cheat and I have something that's like, super high calorie, low volume. I basically want another bubble tea right after I have a bubble tea. And you just end up in this cycle where in the end, I wasn't even like losing weight. Right? Because I would just go through a very big binge cycle because my body's like, oh, you need food. And you end up back at zero. And if we're going back to like the first point, what you need to do is you need to be in a calorie deficit. So you could be in a calorie deficit from Monday through Friday. And then the freaking weekend rolls around like me, where it's like Saturday, bubble tea, and you start to spiral and you like go out with your friends, have 1, 2, 3 drinks, you lose track of your calories. And then from here, you're just in huge surplus for like Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday rolls around, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, like what the hell happened? Okay, well, I'm trying to get back onto my diet again. And from here, obviously you go through like the cycle. And it's like, oh, you look at the scale and it doesn't really change and you feel frustrated. It's freaking there, right? I was just like, why is this not changing? Monday through Friday, it's so frustrating. Like, what's the point of even doing this? So by having a balance of high volume food, low calorie options throughout the week, super important because it allows you to stay fuller for longer, but also reduces the likelihood of like you going through like this crazy binge cycle. Okay. So number 3, we're going to prioritize protein in every single meal. Okay. And so actionable steps, basically you want to aim for at least 0.7. I like to get our clients eating 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. For example, if you weigh 180 pounds, aim for 130 to 180 grams of protein daily. Okay. And so protein rich foods are like chicken, fish, lean beef, tofu, legumes, eggs, protein shakes in every single meal. That's what we really get our clients doing. you need to have protein in every single meal. Okay. Why? So protein keeps you fuller for longer. Okay. It literally helps you preserve muscle mass during weight loss, which is really, really important because it keeps your metabolism very, very high. If you're just losing a ton of muscle mass, well, guess what? Going back to the metabolic rate, your metabolic adaptation will occur way quicker, which is why when people do these fasts, they go through these huge calorie deficits, lose like 3 days. Well, most of that is freaking muscle. So in the end, you can lose 30 pounds and look in the mirror and still not be happy because you're just only focused on losing weight. And if you're only focused on losing weight, you can lose, again, 30 pounds, look in the mirror and be like, oh my gosh, like I still haven't hit my goal. And the reason why is because you're just losing a ton of muscle. Okay. So when you actually have protein, it actually preserves your muscle mass during the weight loss process, which then allows you to keep your metabolism very, very strong and healthy. Okay. Also, protein has a very high thermic effect on your body. Like it literally burns more calories digesting protein than carbs and fat, which we're going to dive really, really deeply into this a little bit later. Cool. Strength training. Oh man, I could literally talk for hours on strength training, to be honest. Okay. But something that you can start to implement is maybe for training 3 to 4 times a week using compound movements, squats, deadlift, push-ups, and pull-ups, rows, stuff like that. We can give you a free training. We're going to just link it below here. It's going to be a free way for you to just get moving. The most important thing is just staying consistent. If you train 3 days a week, this is literally the most bang for buck. Like if most of our clients train 3 to 4 times a week, 3 times is like minimum. But once you start training 3 times a week, you're building resistance training, you're building up muscle mass, you're starting to build up the rest of metabolic rate, the metabolism, all that stuff. We want our clients training 3 times a week. And if you look at the literature, 3 times a week versus 5 times a week, obviously the person that trains 5 times a week is going to get more gains, but it's like almost, 50% more work, right? But it's not actually that much in terms of gains, right? If you look at someone who's training 3 times a week versus someone that trains 5 times a week, you're going to get more gains if training 5 times a week, but it's not that much more. Well, you get most of your results from just like training 3 times a week. So 3 times a week. I personally like to focus on full body routine with progressive overload because for the most part, if you just train Monday and it's like a leg day, and then you train Tuesday, it's like an upper body day. Well, on Wednesday, if that's the only time you could train during the week, you literally can't train because you just like went too hard on the other days. You kind of just need to have like a rest day at this point. Whereas like full body day, you start to get way more volume throughout the week. You start to train your muscle groups. You don't get as sore, right? You literally get to train consistently. If you only can train 3 days in a row, you can train hard each and every single day, and you won't be like potentially injuring yourself, overloading your muscles, causing an injury. Full body routine is best bang for buck. If your priority is to build up muscle mass, and you don't want to live at the gym, full body routine is what we recommend for a lot of our clients here. And strength training, why? Because it maintains muscle mass while you're in a calorie deficit. Obviously, having more muscle mass will increase your resting metabolic rate. You burn more calories at rest, which is freaking the cheat code. This is the cheat code, guys. Literally, this is what we're going to do later. Okay, cool. All right, point number 5, increasing your NEAT. I never thought about this name. It's actually pretty funny. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. What is a NEAT? So a NEAT is basically all exercises or activity that's not including exercise. Okay, so for instance, things that you can include into your NEAT would be just walking 10,000 steps a day. You can use your stairs. You can just be fidgeting. You can be standing during your phone calls, doing chores around the house. You can be using a standing desk. Like all these things are your NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And basically, NEAT is the energy you expend for everything other than exercise. So it could literally be me standing up, going back down, doing this, that, like all that stuff adds up. And it plays a really big factor in your calorie expenditure. You can make small changes to your daily movement, and this will literally compound over time. And you want this to go on autopilot. The more this becomes autopilot, like for instance, one of the things that my wife and I do is in the mornings, we usually, especially with Sunny, we usually go outside for a nice 10, 15-minute walk with our dog Mochi. Like, it's beautiful. Like, the first thing you got to do instead of just going to your phone is we just go for a walk together. And it's so beautiful. And another habit that we started to implement, which has been huge for our relationship, really, is going for walks after dinner. And we used to have this habit where probably it was maybe like 5-6 years ago, where after dinner or during dinner even, we would be sitting at like the TV, we'd be watching a show, and we would just be eating dinner together, not talking to each other. Now, we no longer do that, and our relationship has completely changed. To the point right now where we always eat at the dinner table, the TV's off for sure. And this is where we actually have a great conversation. And then after dinner, clean up, go for a walk. We just get to, go for a walk together. Even if it's raining, it's something that we do consistently over time. It's now like a habit, and it's really strengthened our relationship. It's strengthened our communication. Feel way closer together. We just get to know like how we're doing each other. And for us, that's like part of our routine now. And when it becomes autopilot like that, when it becomes truly autopilot, not only will you get to enjoy life together, like be in the moment with the people that you love, especially like if you do implement the thing after dinner. But more importantly, like not more importantly, but you start to actually expend more calories. Like if you're doing 10,000 steps per day, depending on your weight, you could be losing potentially like 500 extra calories just from doing that, from just like doing something that you're already going to do consistently over time. So think about it like this. Imagine if you just hated, going to Stairmaster. Well, to burn 500 calories, depending on the speed, you might have to go on there for like freaking 35 minutes. For me, I much rather talk to my wife, go for a nice little walk with my dog, catch up on a day with her, as opposed to just like putting on headphones, just going on the Stairmaster and just walking up and down, and then adding more minutes and more. To me, I just don't feel like there's a lot of joy in that. And so when you actually increase your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, things become way more routine. It becomes way more autopilot. It becomes part of who you are. And if it becomes part of who you are, you don't have to think about it. There's less energy expenditure to like actually go and do the thing, because if you had to go do cardio, you're like, man, I don't want to do cardio. Well, it requires energy for you to get up and like change and break that habit and go and actually do it. Whereas if it's part of your routine, you wake up, the first thing you do, you don't even look at your phone and you just go for a walk. There's no energy in that. It's just part of your routine. And that's how you continue to stack all these like great habits in place. And we want this to be a lifelong thing. Hopefully this makes sense, guys. Cool. So now on to number 6, incorporating HIIT workouts. Okay, high intensity interval training. So what you could do, especially if you're strapped for time, people are like, one of the biggest things I hear is, Dex, I literally have no time. I just can't train. There's no way. Like I barely have any time for myself. So here's the reality, guys. Everyone has the same amount of time, right? And you probably heard this a ton of time. It's a matter of like making things a priority for you. And so sometimes it's really, really hard for people. But what I've noticed for a lot of our clients is if you look at their calendar, there's a lot of wasted time, wasted space, just scrolling mindlessly on the phone. That's like a big one, right? Or as soon as they wake up, they're on the phone, just like reading news, all that stuff. Oftentimes, someone has at least 20 minutes in their day. If they don't, like, I'm like, pull up your calendar, let's see what's going on. You must have like time blocks on everything. And for me, like a lot of the high performers that I get to work with, every single high performer has exercise part of their life. Why? Because this literally boosts your energy, makes you feel better. Your mood goes through the roof. So anyone that says, hey, I don't have time, it's truly not a priority for them. And if it's not a priority for you right now, this is another training for sure. It's not to make you feel bad by any means, but how I think about things is like, if you don't prioritize things now, what's going to happen in like 10 years from now, or even 5 years from now, right? If you're not training, you're not taking care of yourself now, maybe one day, it's not going to be you that, or it's not going to be you that, it's going to be you that's going to be the issue, potentially, right? And what I mean by this is the worst fear for me, and this is me being super transparent, I would never want my family to have to take care of me. That's the thing I absolutely would never want. I would never want my daughter, my son, my wife to have to like wipe my ass or like do anything for me. And if I could do so much to take care of my body, not only will I be able to take care of them, but like when I'm like 70 years old, I'm not going to be that really frail grandpa that's like, just like using a walker and like not being able to enjoy life and like, or have like a fall and you go through like this cascade of like even falling even more and you start to break other stuff and you start to decondition like crazy and then you start to get like diabetes. And for me, like that's a huge, scary thing. And I just don't ever want that. Like I think about my experience when I was working as a physio. I remember this first time and story time. So this is actually where that stayed really true for me. And it made me like really like when this happened, I literally like right after school, I wanted to go train because I was just like, hell no, this is not going to be me. And I remember first university must have been like 2016 or something like that as a physio student. And when you're first year physio student, you don't actually get to like do anything. You mostly just get to watch and like, oversee stuff or not oversee. You just got to look at them, observe. Okay. And we're in like the gen med ward, and that's just like general, I guess, like surgery and people who have like chronic conditions all over the place. One person had diabetes and he was laying on his hospital bed. I remember walking in with a preceptor, and you see like this little girl be sitting beside it, and her arms are like this. She's just like pissed off, like just like that. And I walked over, and the preceptor's talking to the patient, and you can see him. He's just laying there, like big gut, like big old gut. It just has like a big belly here. You got like a polo shirt. It's like a blue polo shirt, crumbs all over, like stains all over, gray sweatpants, like tucked in shirt, and he just like didn't smell very good either. Right? Maybe it's a hospital smell. And I remember walking in, I was just like, oh my goodness, like what's going on here? Turns out this guy has diabetes, type 2 diabetes, right? And he's had diabetes for a bit of time now, to the point where like walking up to it, the smell probably came from his bandages, because the reason why he came into the hospital was because he had to change his bandages, because with diabetes, you start to lose sensation. Potentially, if you had it for a long period of time, you start to lose sensation in your foot. As you start to lose sensation in your foot, you literally don't have sensation, so you could be rubbing on things. As you start to rub on things, you start to might get blisters and could get infected. And if it gets infected, it could get like people might get necrotic tissue. And then from here, it comes to be an amputation at that point, right? And so I remember walking in, preceptor's talking, and the daughter's just like crossed like this. So I did what anyone else would do. I went up to the daughter. I was like, hey, how are you doing? And she just literally just ignored me. She was just like looked away, which is like, oh, you know what? Like ignored me like completely. So later I found out that was that girl's graduation day. Her graduation day. So imagine, right? She just graduated. She literally just graduated. And instead of like walking with her friends, celebrating, enjoying life, she had to take her dad to the hospital to change his bandages because of diabetes. Because of his sensation. You got to change it because it's hurting him, whatever it is, it's becoming infected. And so type 2 diabetes is one of the things that you can 100% like reduce the risk of. And so when I think about this, I think about like, wow, like I would never want to be that guy. I would never want to take away the joy from my family, especially my daughter, her big day, to like take care of me or to take me to the hospital because I had to change my bandages. And so that was like basically ingrained to my brain for like the rest of my life, where I'm just like, Dex, come on, man, you got this. There's days where I don't want to train. I don't want to do anything. I just want to go home, chill. But I think about that moment, I'm like, nope, the person that I'm going to become, the 2.0 version of myself, there's no chance I'm going to be that person. So I go and do it, even if I don't want to. So that was a bit of a long-winded story, but I hope that's helpful for you guys. In terms of like the actionable steps, because everyone does have time, it's a matter of like prioritizing it. Okay. So things that you can implement is basically just literally simple sessions of 20-second sprints, right? Followed by like 40 seconds of walking. That's like the way you can incorporate hips. Or you can even just do like body weight exercise, like burpees, mountain climbers, jumping jacks, so forth. The reason why you want to do this is simply because it's just a time efficient way to burn calories, right? And the reason why you should train isn't just like burn calories to like improve your cardiovascular disease, all that stuff. But if you're truly strapped for time, you can have an insane workout for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, you can have an insane workout. You're going to feel good. Literally, you start to feel like really, really good, right? You start to like burn some calories, build a bit of muscle, and it just helps you get into a routine of things. So on to point number 7. Obviously, we're going to dive really deep into each one of these, is drink plenty of water. Okay, so how are you going to do this? We'll implement drink a glass of water before each meal. This helps you control your portion size and avoid making thirst for hunger. So what this means is that a lot of the times people often snack because maybe they're just thirsty, right? That's a big reason why people just like reach for stuff, because they're not drinking enough water, right? If you aim for 2 to 3 liters of water per day, more if you're exercising, this is a really, really good goal because it helps you keep things, obviously you're not less thirsty, you're going to less reach for like foods. So water really keeps you hydrated. It's really, really important. It can slightly boost your metabolism. And I'm going to dive deep into this in just a sec here. And it also reduces hunger and calorie intake when consumed before meals. So there's this thing, I was going to talk about this later, but I think it'd be cool to talk about right now is, does water actually increase your metabolism? So if you think about like what metabolism is, and this is stuff that we do with our clients all the time, and we really create an individualized program on this concept, is in order for you to build your metabolism, you need more resource, you need more fuel, you need more muscle mass. Okay. So what we do for the clients, we actually assess them. We actually put them through a screen. We understand the really strong muscles and not so strong muscles. From here, we actually train these not so strong muscles, which are kind of like these smaller gas tanks. These not so small gas tanks will turn into really big gas tanks. So when that happens, your energy level will increase. But more importantly, which burns more calories, muscle or fat? Muscle, like quite a bit more. Okay. So if you're actually training muscle mass, you're training like the smaller gas tanks and you're assessing, you'll be like, hey, this is like, your hamstring is, you don't ever use this hamstring because it's underdeveloped, which is why there's huge imbalances. And you're now training that hamstring group, let's just say, you build that capacity up. Well, guess what? The muscle mass is going to increase. The muscle mass increases. What do you think happens to your energy levels? Goes up. What do you think happens to your resource and fuel requirement? That goes up. Okay. So as you start to increase the muscle mass, you really require more resources at rest. If you require more resources at rest, your metabolic rate will literally increase because you literally have more muscle mass. You require more muscle for your body to operate. So does water actually increase that system? So indirectly, it might. It might, simply because you feel more hydrated, you feel better, less risk for potential injuries. If you're more hydrated, you feel better. It allows you to train harder. But directly drinking more water doesn't actually increase that process of building up more muscle mass. So hopefully, obviously, there's like a myth busting video that we can go over, but that's like the whole concept around like drinking water. The main reason why you want to drink water is so that it helps reduce hunger, caloric intake, so you consume before meals. When consumed before meal, cool. All right. Point number 8. We're gonna rip through the rest of this because we still got a bit more to cover. Okay. So cutting out liquid calories, it's really, really important because obviously we want to avoid sugar drinks, sodas, alcohol, all that stuff, because it's when people say empty calories, it literally doesn't make you full. It doesn't keep you full. Going back to the concept of high volume food, right? So whenever you drink, let's just say like a can of Coke, you literally still feel hungry after that. And that's how you stack way more calories than you need. So liquid calories don't fill you up, but can easily increase your calorie intake without you realizing that. Okay. Number 9, optimizing sleep. Super freaking important. So important for like weight loss. In fact, at the UFC, one of the first things that we implemented for every single UFC fighter is creating them a sleep plan. Like, I'm not even playing. We get them to like sleep better because it helps them repair better. It reduces your cortisol level, which is huge for like stress, and it impacts your weight loss. It helps you with recovery, repair, all that stuff. So things that you can aim for is 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each and every night. Create a consistent sleep routine. So avoid screens an hour before bed. Keep your room cool and dark, because when you actually feel it, like it's cooling down, you start to feel like comfortable. It's like a really nice thing. You put a blanket on, you feel good. It's a way for you to relax. Cool. Why? Poor sleep increases hunger hormone ghrelin. Ghrelin is gremlin, right? And so the reason why is because literally, if you're not sleeping, you get hungrier quicker, you overconsume calories. It also reduces your satiety hormone, which is your leptin, which is this is the thing that's going to keep you full. Like satiety, satiety is basically if you are feeling full, that's great. That means your food satiety is very, very high. But if it's low, right, because your leptin is low, this is going to make it so that you feel hungry. Cool. And this can lead to overeating. It also negatively impacts your energy level and your ability to exercise, which is huge. In fact, if you look at the literature, if you're not sleeping, you're at higher risk for potential injury. You don't actually get to repair the muscle as well, so you get less gains. Cool. Number 10, stay consistent, measure and progress. So actionable step, make sure you weigh yourself weekly at the same time. You can even do this every single day, right? Track body measurements. This is a really good way. We actually use the waist. This is one of the things. And we take progress photo every single week, right? So some people like 2 to 4 weeks. We like to do this one time a week. You adjust calorie intake based off of like what we see on the progress. So if our main thing is we want to improve body composition, well, every single week we want to make sure that we're making progress towards that. If we're not, we make changes. Weight is really helpful because it tells you if you're in a calorie deficit, but the weight's not everything. Eventually it's going to plateau, right? So when it does plateau, we really focus on the progress photos to make sure that you actually gain body recomposition changes. Because in reality, if you lose 1 pound of fat but gain 1 pound of muscle, your weight stays the same. And consistency is key. Tracking your progress helps you stay accountable. Obviously, seeing results will help you stay motivated. Okay. Number 11, managing your stress. This is super important, guys. So stress is linked to your cortisol levels, and chronic stress leads to elevated cortisol level, which can increase your hunger, lead to more fat storage, especially around the abdomen. So managing your stress will support your weight loss journey and just be happier overall. So what you can do is meditate, mindfulness, deep breathing exercise, yoga, or walking. Walking is huge for me. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's gone for a walk and hated life. The more you walk, right after your walk, you just feel amazing, right? And so something that I'm trying to work on right now is setting boundaries for work-life balance, taking more hobbies, and doing more activities that I truly enjoy, such as golf, even though I'm not very good. So number 12, we're going to plan for social situations. So before going out, you can eat something healthy to avoid overeating high calorie foods. So really good examples, like let's just say you're going to a restaurant, right? And it's your wife's birthday, right? So I already know that we're going to eat really yummy food because it's her birthday. I want to celebrate her with her. So what I like to do before going to this restaurant is I'll eat something like pretty healthy, quote unquote, high protein, vegetables, so that I consume less calories when I'm actually at the restaurant. So I know that if I'm super hungry, I'm at the restaurant, I want to be like, dude, this looks really good, this looks really good, this is really good. But for me, when I'm at the restaurant and I'm trying to be in a calorie deficit, well, I'm going to focus on lean protein, fish, turkey, chicken, and vegetables, and avoid fried food to reduce the caloric intake. But actually eating a meal before your meal will help you overconsume less calories because you're not going to just like eat with your eyes. That's what my dad likes to say. So social situation can lead to overeating and making poor food choices. So planning ahead keeps you on track, allows you to enjoy the occasion without hindering process. Okay. So honestly, guys, following this step, you will see consistent progress towards losing 10 pounds and even more. Stay patient, adjust as needed. That's the most important. Making modifications, making things specific for your lifestyle, and focus on building sustainable habits because it goes on autopilot. That goes beyond just weight loss, guys. This is a weight loss journey. It's a health journey. You don't just lose 10 pounds and like see you later. I hope this is stuff that you consistently do for a long period of time. And so we're going to dive into each and every single one of these points in detail coming up next. All right, guys, have a good day.